We're going to go ahead and start the recording. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, hello. You are watching Groove of War 2. It's our inaugural day. So shoutouts to all the VOD watchers out there. A lot of people are really thirsty for knowledge in this game. They'll search competitive War Groove. They'll find Groove of War. For those people who are just looking into competitive War Groove for the first time, what do you have to say to them, guys? Join a community, get games in, talk to people, watch some matches.
I think
go
join
ahead,
the
Doc.
community, play games, play against people better than you, lose a lot, and that's how you get better for the most part. And I think talking about your games is really good because this is a game where, well, it's a turn-based game. There's no really mechanics to master by practicing. It's more about your overall understanding and ability to see what's going on. So analyzing your games, I think, is super important to getting better.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I think it's really important just to play games against good players on solid maps, and that will really help you improve your understanding of the game.
So both players here have hoarded a ton of gold. Junkmail has bought a knight, so
Wait a
we'll have to
second.
see.
Am I in the wrong lobby? Wait, did the game start for you guys?
It hasn't started for me.
Yes.
Apparently we're having technical difficulties too. What?
Actually, my game just crashed, so I'm reloading it.
That's a...
So it's working.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the game now. It started.
So, everybody has seen me click on this back. Fantastic start, guys.
I think it's ever since the patch. A lot of Steam users seem to be having issues with disconnecting and desyncing. So, as a Switch user, I have not really noticed any issues, I'll say.
How entitled you are. We're gonna quickly restart the game underneath this slide, guys, and get into it pretty quickly. Shoutouts to Chucklefish for making Spectate pretty good in the sense that when we get back into the game, it will catch up quickly. You know, Doc, if you didn't mention how the players were hoarding gold, we might just still be talking intro stuff.
Oh shoot, I didn't realize. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, I guess I know who's watching stream and who's not now. Get back in the game in just a second. It's the type of technical difficulties you have in a live show, right, guys? We appreciate chat forgiving us for it. And we are into game. It will quickly. There we go. So initial turns. We're gonna fast forward through it. We have on the top side of the map Junkmail as, or rather on the top side of the map in the red is Gabersen. On the bottom side of the map we do have as Ragna Junkmail.
Our dominion grows.
You are watching Groove of War number 2. Swiss Round 1 is a best of 1. Got some fancy new graphics since the last time. Soon enough the game will catch up here. What turn are the players on right now, Doc?
They are currently on turn 4, I believe.
So we're about to catch up. We'll see really quickly the state of play. I know a lot of players play the game without animations on. In our case, we do leave them on since, you know, normally we are
Our dominion grows.
not catching up. And to make the game a little bit more readable for people who are watching the game. Initial thoughts as the opening turns settle down here, Doc.
I think I would say Junkmail has sort of taken the initiative. He's gotten his cavalry in a very central location. Gabersen has opened with a trebuchet, and that's gonna... I think this might be too early for a trebuchet, just because it's really hard to protect it, especially with a cavalry already out there. And it's gonna be a long time till it's useful, since he's also opted to move it all the way around.
And once again, we do want to mention the flagstone thing on this map. Those trebuchets do have to literally go around that line of flagstone and the forest.
Gets a nice KO on the enemy village here. That's really good. It will speed up her groove charge a lot.
Yeah, you absolutely do not want to give Ragnar groove, because if she gets charged early, then the game is over if she gets charged early enough, honestly.
So we are caught up at now. So now, if you're a viewer, you will be seeing the game in live time instead of a really quick slideshow of the match thus far. So from the spectator view, we're just now sort of seeing how things have settled down. It looks like we just really missed the capture phase of the game. It really just gets straight into the meat of it, just as planned, right, guys?
Of course.
Yep.
So thinking about his
knight from Junkmail. I really like having two knights against a trebuchet, because what you can do is position the two knights so that they're right behind each other and threaten to crit a unit protecting a trebuchet, and then actually crit the trebuchet as well. So I find that you usually want to get more than one knight if you start building knights. So I think Gabersen here is going to need to buy something tanky to actually protect his trebuchet, and I wouldn't be surprised to see even a giant right now, just because he has so much money.
He doesn't have the money for a giant at the moment.
I stand corrected.
For those of you who have not played on this patch yet, this was the quality of life patch. When you highlight a unit, you are able to see damage dealt. Or rather, projected damage in a fight.
Yeah, Gabersen doesn't have too many pikes out at the moment, which is really good for Junkmail's knights, because knights are afraid of the enemy pikes, basically. Just have free reign at the moment to do whatever they want.
Yep, and if Gabersen isn't careful, this knight can even just go north and start picking off other units. Junkmail has a lot of options here. What I think, if I was Junkmail, what I'd be looking at is... So I guess it depends on what Gabersen does do, but what he's opened himself up to is basically the knight threatening his village, or his barracks, and you don't want a knight around your barracks, because then he can start threatening units that you build and all sorts of terrible things.
Exactly. I have to say, it might have been too early to move the Treb away from the barracks, because right now that barracks is looking a little breezy, undefended. Sure it if he wants to go for that.
Then again, it looks like Gabersen is really trying to shore up that bottom push, especially with Valdergroove being up. I don't really... If you're talking about the top barracks being vulnerable, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's a pretty strong pivot south if Gabersen decides to move on that. And the trebuchet covers top to stop Ragnar from doing anything extremely painful.
The Junkmail will have to be careful here, because Valder does have his groove, and it charges very quickly. He can use his groove at max once every other turn. If he gets a kill every other turn, it'll fully recharge his groove. So you have to stop him from being aggressive against you so that he doesn't get his charge as quickly, and you can sort of slow down the pace of the game. I think that's what the name of the game is right now for Junkmail. Training Valder.
sort of address that right off the bat.
Right.
I think a big part of dealing with Balder is making sure you have enough fodder units to deal with his skeleton, because in general, just the skeleton is not the end of the world, but it's when his skeletons can make value trades against your archers or mages or other extremely vulnerable units is where his groove starts getting extremely oppressive. So right now, Junkmail's composition is pretty resilient to swordsmen in general, so he's alright for the moment, but he does need to get some more expensive units, especially to deal with those pikemen. Archers are probably one of the better answers he has, and you need to protect your archer.
The knight moves into crit range for the village, and like you mentioned, archer purchase.
I'm not so sure about the knight critting the village there. I feel like the trap will be able to defend it.
Right. Yeah, it would definitely not be the correct play, I suppose, but I mean, he put it there for actually the village and for Valder. Valder is also in crit range.
Yeah. It's
absolutely more for Valder. Sorry.
Junkmail would really like to build an archer right now, but if he builds an archer from his barracks in any of the 3 more top locations of his barracks, Valder's just going to hit it with his groove, so he has to build another knight here. And that is a lot of knights, which actually can really threaten lethal if Gabe isn't careful.
Right. Another thing that's actually possible on this map is to swing the knights around to the other side and then threaten the enemy stronghold. The open stronghold.
It's tough to do with the trebuchet there, but the trebuchet will, I mean, Ragna plus 2 knights plus an archer is a pretty strong push top. I don't think Valder has, like, quite enough speed to handle that.
Exactly.
Would be unwise to ignore the economy advantage here. That's a 900 to 700. That 800 threshold is pretty important.
Okay, so Junkmail moved 1 knight north. I want to note that the knight is in crit range of the northernmost village. Spaces and hit that village, killing it.
And it's also in crit range of the, more importantly, I think, the trebuchet. So that's sort of forcing Gabe to not really want to push there. And once you start getting enough knights, they're all going to line up really nicely. I feel like Gabe wants to be building more expensive units, but he feels pressure to build spears because he sees so many knights. And it's kind of an awkward situation for him. I think this is one of the situations where buying, sending a troop to go capture the tower might actually be a good choice on this map, since air in general is fairly weak on this map just because of how far away it is from the front line. It's going to take like 4 turns to reach the front line, but it is a good way to dump money when you have too much and just want to get some inefficient value out of it.
Right, yeah. That's definitely true.
This is a really slow push bottom. I think
But at the same time,
reacted pretty well.
But at the same time, though, Junkmail can't really do anything about it because you know the knights there don't. And I guess you could use Ragnar to hit the pikes.
I mean, I wouldn't be too scared if I threw a knight at the pike, I threw the other knight at the soldier, and I moved Ragnar down to handle a counterattack.
Yeah, you're right.
Even that knight to the bottom left cannot stop that initial attack. And the trebuchet cannot move into range to really defend either. Like, I think really those 2 units left of the village are extremely vulnerable right now.
I think using the knight here might... You can use the knight to hit the bottom swordsman. I like that a lot. But I think you have to use Ragnar to hit the spearman, because otherwise the spearman is just going to absolutely hose your knight. Spearmen, when critting, will absolutely just one-shot a knight. Spearman damage when they crit in general is ridiculous.
It is.
So I think the big decision here is where Gabersen's going to move his trap.
I'm gonna guess behind the mountain in the center, close to his village.
The,
I think that's a good spot.
top left space above the village.
Yep. That's the only spot that makes any sense to me, since he already swung it out to the center.
Well, what's your opinion on that move?
Oh wow, okay. So not be bad.
It doesn't protect the village up north from the night crit that you mentioned earlier.
Right, but at the same time, it will definitely stop the knight from trying anything too reckless.
I'm just trying to see if there's an opportunity here for
The knight there
Gig
helps a
to
lot.
hit it. Oh yeah, that pretty much stops any kind of cheesy push over here. And I think what often happens on this map is you try to control these center villages, not the center ones, but the center north and center south villages, with a trebuchet from behind that flagstone. So even though right now Junkmail has a small econ advantage, I think Gabersen's goal here is to just start hitting that village. He's going to besiege it, and eventually that's just going to be a neutral village until someone breaks the stalemate.
To be fair, Ragnar is pretty good at breaking stalemates. Junkmail is currently at 55% of his groove. And this is maybe turn 9. At worst, he's got another 9 turns to charge his groove up fully. But he can probably make that faster if he uses Ragnar to attack here in the following turns.
Yeah, I think this is a fairly safe Ragnar attack because you can only get hit from... I believe she can only get hit by Spearman from the other 2 angles, and is at worst going to take a Valder hit or so.
Right.
And in return for Groove as Ragnar, you take that deal. Because, well, Groove is so damn important.
Yeah, standing next to the village really just shields her from one side. And that's a pretty common thing to do, I think. Just use the village as a shield, and she can pretty easily get a unit to stand behind her from another side as well, and then Gabe will only be able to hit her from 2 sides.
So he does go for that middle village, which is pretty open at the moment, actually.
Right. Yeah. Good play.
And that's a really good play. It's the only unit that can... So there's only 3 units on the map that can hit it. First is the second most north swordsman, which not a great trade. The south swordsman, same thing, and this one spearman, which I'm sure Junkmail has an answer to.
Right, he's definitely going to use Ragnar here. Yep.
Yep. I really like this play.
Apparently we're still having technical difficulties because I'm not seeing the move you guys are talking about. And that is not the case of animations here. We're going to quickly restart this game on our end, on the stream side, unless we are once again glitched on this build. Which we are. So we will come back to this turn in just a second from the stream side of things. Doc Zero, if you'd like to give the radio call, go ahead, continue.
Yep, Junkmail is just starting to try to fortify his aggressive position. I think this is a extremely strong position right here. He did move that knight south, which I was talking about earlier, couldn't really be punished the same way the other one could. And I think Junkmail has taken a small lead here.
Right.
I will say that the one thing about putting his knight there is Balder's probably going to stand on that mountain and just hit that cavalry, taking very little damage in return, getting a fair bit of groove out. But
so we're quickly seeing the knight attack the village, like you guys mentioned. Ragnar moving to attack the pikemen.
Kind of in response to Doc there. I think if Balder...
soldiers.
Yeah, if Valder does try to stand on the mountain and hit the knight, Ragna could, and she'd be backed up by an archer and maybe a knight. Not be that safe depending on how Gabe plays this.
I want to quickly mention that Gabe is having a bit of a problem. He's continuing to DC as well. That might be what kicked me out, actually, was one of the players
Turn
DC.
to dust.
Who knows? But yeah, Gabersen has mentioned to me a few times now that he's disconnecting from the game. Obviously, you guys won't have too much. You guys really won't technically see that, but might delay Red's turns by a bit.
Hmm.
Okay, so Gabe has committed to pushing in the north with a knight and his 2 pikes. I do not like this move for Gabe. I think it just leaves his... He's going to get his knight killed for no reason, basically. And the archer there will mop up or severely damage at least 1 pike.
Yep, I think you're exactly correct. He's basically just lost all these units for nothing. The ordering can be a bit tricky here, but I think what's going to happen is you have to first... He actually has a few options about how he goes about it, but all of them end badly for Gabe.
Yeah.
This is one of those misleading things about the game, that you can't always trust range indicators. Like, currently looking at where the archer is positioned, if you use the range indicator, then, oh, it looks fine. It looks like it's none of Gabe's units can get hit. But if you actually see, it's because those spearmen are in the way right now. So next turn, Junkmail can just move 1 of the spearmen, and then the archer can hit that spearman and basically snowball this front out of control as well.
Yeah, Gabe might have gotten a little nervous there with the Junkmail's attack in the south going pretty well, and might have decided that he needed to attack as well, but I think this just was not the right way to do it.
I feel like I'm on pins and needles, guys, waiting for the next disconnect to jump at me. Waiting for you guys to call out some hot move that happens that I don't get to see, but no, I kid. Gabersen, like we mentioned earlier, is having some trouble staying in the game as well, so his turns will be pretty delayed at the moment. Hopefully that resolves itself. I will mention this is day 1 of the quality of life patch, quality of life number 1. So, I mean, this is kind of to be expected, right?
Yep.
We'll take this moment
So,
to
Doc.
mention... Go ahead.
Yes.
Doc, what do you think is the best follow-up for Gabe, like, at the moment, generally?
As in, what does Gabe do with his remaining units?
Yeah.
Well...
Okay, I like this move by Gabe. He's going to attack the knight with a pike crit, which will probably kill it. Probably because it's and a damaged knight.
I think there's an interesting choice there, because the other option was to hit Ragna with a pike crit, because pike crits do actually pretty formidable damage against commanders, but I think you are right in that it's better to just hit the knight with the crit, and that will absolutely... I'm pretty sure that'll kill the knight.
Yeah.
He's just kind of throwing a swordsman away here for no good reason.
He could have
It's
reinforced that.
a small misplay, but yeah, usually you want to bring those back, heal them, and it's kind of like, I see it as, if you bring back a swordsman and heal it, it's like you got to buy a swordsman at a discount. So don't just throw away units.
So like you revive an extra unit, like, because you can only make turn, so having an extra one means, you know, you're that much further ahead.
Yep. Basically, builds are the more important resource than gold, and if you can save a build, save a little bit of gold, then it should absolutely be worth your time to heal units. That's an interesting place to put his knight. I think that's a bit of a misplay, because it's not going to be able to crit from that distance because there's trees in the way, And with knights, it's not about moving 6 units, it's about ending up 6 tiles away from where you started.
Right.
So if there's anything in the way, like a river, a forest, or anything along those lines, the knight's not going to be able to crit, full stop. So here, it probably would have been better to move it up more if he's going to move it up, and put it right in a forest or something, and just get a little bit more value out that way.
Okay, so it does look like Gabe has just noticed that the Junkmail's knight in the middle can attack his newly produced archer. And also, if he moves that sword away, his trap in the middle. So Gabe right now has to be pretty careful as to how not to lose his stuff. Care required.
Like you just mentioned there, Go, so he moves the sword to block the archer and loses the trebuchet.
Yeah, that trebuchet, I don't think it's going to die since there's no crit there, but yeah. And the really sad part is Gabe's not even going to be able to get to punish that knight. Like what, he's going to hit it with swordsman, which will do okay, and I guess the archer
Yeah, he
will
can hit with the archer. He can
eventually
hit
be
with the
able to
swordman.
kill it, but
He can hit with 2 swordmen and an archer.
I think that's alright enough. We'll bring it to like maybe 2 or 3 health.
I just think that the problem with that is also that Gabe needs that archer to deal with the push right now.
Right, yeah, that you're
Um,
totally right there.
Yeah. Because honestly, that knight and that spearman are both basically dead units.
Gabe built this early trap in the game, but so far we haven't really seen it be effective. It's just basically moved around between the not really committing to either front and not being able to do anything really. So I consider this trap wasted 900 gold at the moment.
Yeah, it really has done absolutely nothing. And that's part of Junkmail playing really well against it. Just buying lots of knights, which are a good way to deal with early trebuchets and really punish him for it. So we're seeing the knight hit the trebuchet, gonna do a ton of damage. Ouch. So I think what Ragna wants to do here is be really greedy and get some charge hitting that town in the center. What that will do is not only deny 100 gold, that means next turn, or in 2 turns from now, Ragna will have full groove, which is a little bit of a problem for Gabe at this point. That spearman crit should kill the knight, which it does. And Ragna's gonna use that archer, going to spearman, then the swordsman should be able to finish that off. Or not.
That's still a pretty good result. I mean, 1 health is... Okay, the only argument against keeping a 1 health spearman is so that you can help your other spearman's crit, which is... So it's more useful than a 1 health sword, at least.
Absolutely. So I'm wondering if Junkmail is planning to kill the spear... Nope, not planning to kill the spearman. I guess he's not as hungry for charges with Ragna as I am.
Okay,
I'm just gonna
so...
hit Balder. I don't like this because,
Well, that gives him charge.
he's on a mountain. He's not gonna do very much damage, and yeah. Balder does have groove now, so he's gonna be able to use it again next turn. I don't think there's any particularly, I guess he could try to hit that archer. And actually, he can hit that archer next turn. So that's gonna actually hurt quite a bit.
That'll be a pretty good trade.
Yeah.
Just losing the sword completely, that's still fine.
Yeah. Just throw Valder, I want to say in the middle forest, right above the spearman, and just throw the skeleton out. He could even go next to his village and then throw it out. So he can do it from a fairly safe position as well.
Right, I'm interested to see what Gabe is gonna do about this knight next to his treb, because it is backed up by another knight.
Yep.
Have any way to deal with the knights at the moment. The pikes are kind of far away. The archer swords are all vulnerable.
So one of the big strengths of knights on this map is just how able they are to go from front to front, right? We saw how they were all down here, putting a lot of pressure, and now they've moved up and they're absolutely crushing this top front, right? Like right now, this bottom front actually looks pretty good for Gabe. Unfortunately, the top is what matters right now.
I don't know if it looks that good. I mean, those two knights are pretty threatening.
By my hand, rise.
I think Junkmail's archer
Yep.
is really what's pressuring Gabe on the bottom at the moment, because the archer will deal very well with the pikes that Gabe is sending there.
Yep. He should just suicide away his swordsman. I'm fairly sure is the correct play here. It'll take out about half its health.
Okay, wait.
Which is pretty good.
I think very careful here to avoid lethal on Baldur, because those two knights are in perfect position to crit Baldur twice.
You're right. Let's see.
It's a knight plus the commander at 7 HP for Valder, 67%. That is not a good place right now for Valder.
So it's actually worse than that because both of those knights can crit. It's kind of a weird pattern to go in, but the top one goes all the way south and one to the left, and this one goes north 3 and west 3.
Yeah,
well,
just
it has
do not.
to be 5 tiles from the origin, right? Not 6 tiles of movement.
Okay, it does look like Gabe conceded there.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
Junkmail.
I think the situation was pretty grim. Mostly everything up north. What Gabe's kind of method to come back was getting a lot of value out of it about his trebuchet, and he lost that, and I think that kind of broke his back. But I think it also was just he couldn't really stop the cavalry lethal coming next turn.
And we kind of
He
see.
could have staved it off by using the knight to shield, but that would also have been pretty bad. Yeah, that was just a losing game.
And I want to mention this really quick. Gabersen, I can see him chime in Twitch chat. He is mentioning very early on that he did not realize the immobility of the trebuchet from the flagstone.
Yeah, that's definitely
Yeah.
one thing that bothers me about the map is you kind of just don't notice the flagstones there. There's no, in like the campaign maps, for example, there's hints that there's flagstone. You're supposed to be in a castle, but
Right.
on this
Like,
map, it's
like it's
kind of
surrounded by
hard to figure out.
pillars or some other indicator. Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like a well-designed map, I mean, those are little tells that, like, custom map designers might not realize. Like, how do you make flagstone look more like an accessible terrain? I think flagstone as a texture is not the best texture, but it definitely makes things a little challenging as far as readability goes.
Yeah, I personally haven't messed around with map creation much myself, but I wonder if maybe even using some cosmetics could help. Since those don't affect gameplay at all, you could probably just do some stuff to pull attention to it.
I'm a big
Right.
fan of the way Fire Emblem does it. So Fire Emblem has pillar tiles, which are pretty good at signifying certain types. Or I feel like pillars would be a pretty good signifier there. But anyways, that's just some notes about the map. Gabersen loses to Junkmail. Junkmail playing Ragna in the blue there. Valder being played by Gabersen. That was a good match, guys. Thank you for giving us an entertaining game 1. We will be back in a few minutes as we get to game number 2. Game number 2 will be Wolf of War versus Nessim. See you guys on the other side of a break. Bye.